This is probably going to be a hard video to make for me because it's hard to combine and hard to put into words all the benefits that I've seen in karate, but I'm going to do my best, or seen from practicing karate. And it's important that I do blanket this with long-term practicing of karate. And one common expression that you learn is that karate isn't a sport, it's a way of life. It's something that intrudes on, I shouldn't say intrudes, but influences many different aspects of life. And for that reason, I consider it interdisciplinary art. So, for example, the areas of life that I've seen personally benefit from karate, normally someone would have to study in different areas. So, yeah, you can learn. Everybody knows about the combat aspect of karate. My specific style of karate is known as Shotokan karate, and I've been doing it over 20 years now. I'm 31 years old, just in case you're wondering. I know I look younger, but I have been doing it for over 20 years. And have, even though I took a break, the benefits I've seen are still there. I used what I learned in karate from the time I was 5 years old up until recently getting back into it. I've used it throughout my life, and it's helped in various ways, and I'm gonna touch on that a little bit. But like I said, it's hard to put everything into words. So yes, interdisciplinary art, the discipline, of course the self-defense, the punctuality that is learned, the specific ways of doing things that is learned, in the respect that is ingrained in across the board, probably in most martial arts that are practiced, can't really be compared to any other area of study. And there's a certain benefit to combining mind with body. Like I said, there's a specific way to do kata, which is an imaginary fight, and you learn every rank, you learn a little bit more of what that means in the bunkai, which is the how you apply that, and how that specific thing can be modified to work in different situations and think of it in different ways. So, okay, the self-defense, there's the leadership aspect, where once you start climbing the ranks, once you start knowing the material, the basics, you got your 16 basics, and then, the punches, the kicks, the kata, the basic knowledge of karate. Then you start having peers and what they say kohai, which is going to be the people you teach. You start passing down knowledge, the knowledge that you understand the way you understand it. That helps in leadership. That helps in developing the self-confidence, the skill to be able to pass down knowledge, because it is a skill. Anybody can learn something, but a big aspect of karate is being able to pass down that knowledge. In fact, that is the core of karate, and it's one popular expression, again, is that once you achieve your black belt, once you climb those ranks and you develop the skills and aspects, and you can do your kata in a certain way, and you know these techniques, and you can perform them cleanly, efficiently, enough to get your black belt, once you have that base knowledge, there's a common expression that getting your black belt is just the beginning. So it's a lot deeper than it sounds, though, because a lot of people start karate with an end goal, meaning once I get my black belt, that's it, right? I am black belt, that's intrinsically valuable, but actually the journey to get your black belt is what's valuable, the skills developed along the way. Black belt is only the beginning, because now you have the baseline knowledge to perform things efficiently and correctly. Now you can build on that knowledge. It's only the beginning. Something poetic about black belt. Originally there wasn't set colors. It was a white belt, and the dirtier it got, the more experience you accumulated, the darker your belt would end up changing. So that's kind of the origin of black belt. And where it's poetic, at least in our adaptation of karate, is okay, we give out black belts, it starts to turn white, it starts to deteriorate. And that is, it's actually a beautiful metaphor and poetic for the passing on of knowledge, the fact that you're never done with the journey. You're black, it's turning back to white, you know. And I actually never really put that connection together in my head till I was making this video, or I wanted to make this video, that once you're black belt, you're still a white belt. You're a white belt, black belt, okay? And don't get caught up on the ranks. It's the journey, it's the experience, it's how it changes you as a person. And I'm not sure if I said this before, but karate has given to me so much more than I've been able to give back. You do, once you get in the higher ranks, you start helping out with classes, and eventually you might teach a class or two, and it's supervised a lot of times until you develop that, you know, a good amount of knowledge. But the things you're passing down are reinforced in your own head, and teaching something, you actually learn it better, which goes back into the foundation that's built on karate. It creates, when you pass down the knowledge, it makes you a better karateka, which is a practitioner of karate. And I'm trying not to touch too much on the spiritual aspects of karate, because I think that the spiritual aspects are actually developed through developing the physical aspects and the intangible aspects, such as punctuality and discipline and passing down of knowledge. So that will come, and that's something that can't really be put into words, at least not from me. I'm not eloquent enough, I believe. So we touched on the techniques. Obviously, everybody knows the combat aspect. I touched on the character building, the need to show up every day, the need to apply yourself, the need to study, interdisciplinary, and the things that are taught to you, and then pass down that knowledge to reinforce it, is actually a beautiful aspect of karate that's not, a lot of times, isn't afforded in any discipline I can think of. I can think of, if you join the military, yeah, you have to learn punctuality, discipline, because it's a machine and that's the way it works. Karate teaches you that as a side effect of being traditional and Japanese culture. There's a certain way of doing things, and it develops an ikigai. Once you have that baseline knowledge, you have the purpose. You're better able to serve the purpose of passing down that knowledge. Without making this too long of a video, because I could go on and on, I will say anything I've applied myself to, any new skill, I use karate and I modify it into what works for that. So I can go into combat, done boxing, wrestling, and I'm not trying to sound, it's just stuff I'm interested in, but you can apply it for anything. You can apply it for art and creative endeavors. I've applied it to those of like, okay, how does this fit into something I already know? What's the sense of balance I've achieved? Okay, if I can stand on one leg and throw kicks and practice those drills in a specific way, then I can learn this takedown. I can learn this throw from judo or Brazilian jiu-jitsu. There's certain techniques that if I can relate it to karate, and I almost always can in a way, and if I can't, it's just because I'm not knowledgeable enough and I'm still building on karate. When I do that, it comes so much easier, and I have a great starting point. Even in school. Yes, I have been in the military, but I was effective in the military, and I feel like I'm effective in school, and I have a head start, a jump start, just from the skills developed and the foundation developed from karate. So that's how it not intrudes, but that's how it influences other areas of life. Going back to black belt being only the beginning, and once you know those set of skills and techniques well enough, a huge aspect of karate and one of the founding fathers of karate. I don't know why I put that in quotations, but it's a term. So the term is used because it's one of the origin members who passed down these ideas, and these foundational ideas is that karate, a necessity for karate to stay alive and to have the spirit that karate necessitates, is that it needs to change. So once you're a black belt, you have the foundation, you can build on these skills. Every lineage instructor, so like you have Gichin Funakoshi, and then down, 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 up until, you know, I'm in Texas karate. Everybody's tweaked it a certain amount once they understood the traditional techniques, once they understood the discipline and the criteria for becoming a 3rd degree, 4th degree, 5th degree master, or they're considered a master, then they can start applying these techniques in a way that makes sense to them. They can change it, they can modify it, and this is essential for keeping things alive. If everybody practiced karate the way it was practiced in the 1920s, when it became kind of modernized, it would be dead in the water. And you see this, I don't want to go into too much of a tangent, but there's something called the McDonaldization of karate, and you saw it in the 1990s where people had a baseline knowledge, and then they probably were, you know, as far as knowledge wise, right in the middle. They didn't learn enough to be considered a beginner, which is a black belt is a beginner in certain aspects. So, and then they started making their own changes, or they use their own experience to their limited experience and try to pass down that knowledge, and people had to pay for belts and ranks, and it was thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a year, and you're buying your ranks and you're not earning the knowledge. That's what I mean by McDonaldization, is that it turns into a corporation, which goes against the aspects of karate that are so important, that you earn your ranks through your knowledge and your application. And through that earning and that knowledge and application, you're developing these life skills that help you in everything you do. So like I said, once you have that baseline knowledge, you are afforded the opportunity to change it and pass down that knowledge. But you still teach that baseline knowledge as it was originally taught, to the best of your ability. So that's why I say karate is a way of life, because life is ever changing. Everything you do is changing. Karate has to change to survive, as does life. And the adaptability, which I wish I would have talked on this earlier in the video. I hope you made it this far, because this is super important as well. It's like I said, it's more things that I could ever talk in a video, but the adaptability, the ability to adapt to situations and to circumstances, and to not be so rigid to say this is the right way, is one of the key aspects of karate that I've seen play out beneficially in my own life over and over again. Okay, your ideologies are holding you back in this aspect. If I just maybe, you know, play in the gray areas of the rules, not being so firm, you know. For example, I'll give you a technique in karate, is doing full wraps. You do full wraps, you do your outward block. Full wraps, outward block, right? If you adapted that and you take out the wraps, it can actually be more efficient and more applicable to a real scenario, say boxing or faking. You know, you're not doing the full movement, but if you know the full movement, you can actually apply that technique in a better way, in a way that suits you more. If you know the core aspects of why it works, you can play outside the rules a little bit, and that will only help you in any area of life, because you know the rules so well, you can modify them to suit you. Alright, without making this an hour-long video, I just want to say thank you for watching. I love you guys. If you have any questions, if you want any recommendations on a good karate school in Texas, I can send you on the right path of what I know. Now, I'm not saying karate is the only thing that can give you these benefits, but it's the only thing I can think of and from my experience. I love you guys. See you next time.